Penguin Random House Audio presents The Local, a legal thriller, by Joey Hartstone. Read for you by Robert Petkoff. To Abby, my collaborator for a lifetime. To Teddy, our collaboration of a lifetime. Part 1. In loco parentis. In the place of a parent. 1. Small towns are defined by their secrets. Some are even haunted by them. There is a communal consciousness that remembers everything, no matter how hard people may try to forget. You can't keep a secret in a place like this, at least not forever. Marshall is only 40 miles from the state's eastern border, but still deep in the heart of Texas. Folks live and die with the Mavericks on Friday nights and seek salvation in church on Sundays. Since World War II, the population has remained unchanged at 23,000 souls. It's almost as if there's no incentive to come here, but people can't find a good reason to leave either. We have an equal number of white and black citizens, but the scars of inequality run deep. The ghosts of slavery and segregation still roam our streets. To this day, a statue of a Confederate soldier casts a shadow over the town square. Behind the bronzed effigy of Johnny Reb stands the old Harrison County Courthouse. Its bright yellow facade, marble columns, and domed top make it our unofficial Capitol building. Lawyers love a good courthouse the way players love a good ballpark. It makes us believe that our lot in life is more important than it probably is. The best lawyers in these parts, however, don't work in this building. Just beyond the hand-laid red brick parking lot of the old county courthouse stands another building, another courthouse. It's a simple beige and brown rectangle 30 feet high with small columns in front. Its demeanor suggests you need not notice it at all. This is the Sam B. Hall, Jr. Federal Building, home to the U.S. District Court. For the past 20 years, the Eastern District of Texas has been the epicenter of intellectual property law in the United States. It is Marshall's best-kept secret. For some reason that morning, as I sat at the plaintiff's table with my client and a team of lawyers from the Chicago law firm of Rosewood and Barkman, I was overcome with a feeling of awe. It was the final day of my final trial for the calendar year, and I found myself in a moment of reflection. As I looked up at Judge Gardner's wrinkled face, I couldn't shake the idea that the kingdom he had built was as impressive as it was improbable, and that we all owed him a debt of gratitude. There had been whispers around the courthouse for months that the judge was contemplating stepping down. People were even speculating that he would announce his retirement that night at the annual Christmas party. I dismissed these rumors as baseless because I believed he would have told me privately if that were his plan. Still, I'd had a sense lately that he was trying to savor certain moments as if they were passing by, never to return. As he glanced in my direction, I wondered if he felt a sense of pride. I was, after all, his protégé. He had crafted me in his image. Mr. Euchre? Judge Gardner drew the court's attention my way without revealing any affection for me. After I'd spent 5 days sitting quietly beside my client with nothing to do but ponder the wonders of our universe, the time had come for me to do what I'd been hired to do. I was going to deliver a closing argument. Thank you, Your Honor. I rose to my feet, but didn't button my jacket. I walked toward the 8 members of the jury in complete silence. It was the first time they would be hearing from me since they were selected, and I wanted to give them a few more beats. I found my mark, and then hesitated, as if unsure of how to begin. Truthfully, I knew every word that was about to come out of my mouth. I was going to deliver my patented Ford pickup closing. As a matter of legal fact, a collection of words, such as a speech, cannot be patented, but rather copyrighted. Suffice it to say, it was my favorite summation. When I was 15 years old, the widow who lived next door to me decided to sell her late husband's truck. It was a 1964 Ford F-100 with a cracked windshield, missing fender, and dented grille. Its original Rangoon red paint job, which perfectly matched the high school's colors, was peeling and had faded under the sun. It was the most beautiful vehicle I'd ever seen. I struck a deal with the widow. In 1 year, I would buy that truck for $2,400. Bagging groceries at the Kroger for $3.35 an hour wasn't going to cut it, so I got a paper route and started mowing lawns on the weekends. I took any odd job I could find, and for 1 year, I didn't spend a penny unless I absolutely had to. Where most boys would keep a picture of their girlfriends in their wallets, I had a photo of this old truck, a reminder of what all the hard work was for. The best day of my young life was when I emptied out my savings account, handed my neighbor all $2,400 to my name, and became the proud owner of a Ford pickup. When I got behind the wheel, a feeling of achievement washed over me. I'd never felt that way before. 2 weeks later, I stepped outside my home with the keys in my hand and discovered that the driveway was empty. I paused here, as if overcome by the memory. I'm embarrassed to admit how many minutes passed before I accepted the reality. I'd never owned anything, and now my one possession in the world had been stolen. For weeks, I kept my eyes peeled, hoping I'd spot my Ford abandoned somewhere, just waiting for me to rescue it. Then one day I get a call from Detective Elliott. He says they think they may have found it up in Marion County, but before they go and accuse someone of grand theft auto, they want me to confirm that it is indeed mine. So Detective Elliott drives me to Marion, and we pull up to this ratty old house with weeds for a yard, and there, parked right in front for all the world to see, is a 1964 F-100 with a cracked windshield, missing fender, and dented grill. I jump out of the cruiser and run up the driveway. Just then, a man in his 20s comes out of the house and hollers at me to get off his porch. I move right to him, fish my wallet out of my pocket, hold the photo of the Ford up in his face like it's a police badge, and declare, "My name is James Euchre, and that is my truck." The man looks at the photo and then back at me and says, "That can't be your truck. Your truck is red. That truck right there is black." I paused again, allowing the audacity of this comment to infect my listeners. Not only had this man taken my vehicle, but now, caught dead to rights with my property in his possession, he had the nerve to deny everything because after he had stolen my beloved truck, he had covered that original Rangoon red body with a cheap coat of black paint. For all the flaws in our legal system, the one thing that we got right was entrusting ordinary people to dispense justice. Even in a field as complicated as intellectual property law, we put our faith in common citizens. Patents can be incredibly complex. It often takes an advanced degree in electrical engineering or microbiology to understand how something works, let alone whether or not the idea behind it was taken from someone else's design. The lawyers from the firms on both sides of this case had spent the past 5 days asking these jurors to think. In my first 5 minutes, I had asked them to feel. Every one of us has a different capacity to understand information based on who we are, what the subject matter is, and how our education and intellect relate to the issue at hand. What makes us alike, what makes us human, is that we all experience the same range of emotions, the same fear, the same love, the same rage. My job was to distance the jurors from the complicated facts of the case and remind them how it feels when someone takes what is rightfully theirs. I loved my Ford closing for a lot of reasons, but principal among them was that it genuinely enraged me. By the time I was done talking about the bastard who stole my truck, my own blood was boiling. And emotions are transferable. Of course, I would ultimately bring my discussion back to the issues at hand, but not until every one of those jurors was thinking about their own experience of being wronged. That time someone hit their car and didn't leave a note. The day their boss took credit for their hard work. That moment when they were victimized by a faceless thief, never to be made whole again. Once that courtroom was overflowing with rage, I turned our collective attention to my client, the plaintiff who was wronged in this case, and I gave the jurors the power to make it right. I stepped toward the plaintiff.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?